So 2025 has started as expected, very, very busy, lots of commercial shoots, my own vlogging, wildlife, etc. But I do get a lot of questions about the type of gear I use, you know, what cameras, what lenses, would I put in my bag, all that sort of thing. And without being too boring, and I know a lot of people do it, I'm going to do this. It's a what's in my bag 2025. Quick sip of coffee. I think that's pretty standard for these kind of reviews, isn't it? Okay, let's zoom through this. So this is camera number 1, and on this we have the camera itself, which is a Sony A7S3. The reason why I use this is because A, it's a low light beast and the quality is incredible. Now I can go up to 12,800 on the ISO, which means I can shoot in the mornings or the evenings and still get a fairly good image. And the actual ISO going up that high, it doesn't give you kind of a grainy feel. It's very, very good. Brilliant, brilliant camera for doing wildlife work. And you can pick them up pretty reasonably, you know, used, or even the new ones are pretty reasonably priced now. Surrounding this is a small rig cage, which has got 50 million things bolted onto it. I've got a nature rail on the top here. I then have my top handle. I'm going to do a bit of a small rig advert here because most of this is small rig. The small rig handle on the top there, I get to pick up the camera because it's very heavy. All this stuff is really heavy. But yeah, I use this to pick up the whole system. It also acts as a double mounting point for me to put my top mic on, which is a Rode video mic that does all the ambient sounds and birds and people and all that sort of thing. And at the back of the handle, I mount my monitor. And this monitor here is a Atomos Ninja V, and it's a brilliant, brilliant monitor. Lovely, crisp image, lots of functionality in there using LUTs and all that sort of thing. But also, I can use it to record on as well. So I can record onto these SSDs, which for me, I've got about 5 of these. They're sort of between 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, all sorts of different, you know, sizes, but I can record direct straight onto that. It is a brilliant system, this. At the moment, I've kind of optimized it to what I do. So underneath the monitor, we have a V-mount battery, and I haven't gone for the huge one. It's a 99, and that powers on the monitor, and it also can do the camera as well as charge up your other things if you need it to. But around the back here, I have got a EVF mounted on a small rig handle. The EVF, I love using the EVF. Obviously I can't see my EVF on the back here, and it's okay to use that, but I like a separate EVF. This is the Portkeys Li3, and it just, you know, gives me another view. It does help a lot when you try to nail focus. These things are really good. Other than that, there are a number of other parts and lots of wires and, you know, systems, but that's currently my setup for camera 1. It's all linked together on this rail system. So I've got a rail system here, which then links onto the actual mounting plate. One thing that I do actually like on this is this. This is the Sony remote that I've mounted on the back of the handle. Now, if I'm looking through the eyepiece or, you know, viewing on the monitor, I'm holding the camera like this anyway, trying to follow this bird or doing whatever I'm doing, but the thumb is ready to start the camera. I don't have to go up here and find the button and hit record, and it's all here basically. But yeah, it's a wired bit of kit, and it kind of feeds all around here, but yeah, this is a really cool bit of kit. And yes, this is my camera 1. Camera number 2, I use a Sony A7IV, and that's what we're filming on now. That is an absolutely incredible camera as well. I tend to pair that with primes, and I do all the vlogging stuff on this camera. So this camera does all the wildlife, this does all of my scenic shots and me and all that sort of thing. But yes, it's a fairly easy setup, as in this does one thing, that does the other. Lens wise, yeah, I've got the 200 to 600 5.6 to 6.3 lens with a 1.4 extender. not the brightest of lenses, but actually paired with this low light beast, it really does balance that leveling out, which is really good. With the A7IV, I have a number of different lenses I use. Tend to stick with prime because I love that prime colouring, the style, the feel of prime. And I go from a 20mm, which I'm filming on now, to a 35 to an 85. And if I need to use something like a macro, I've got a 105 macro that I have here. And then occasionally, if I'm doing like a 2-camera interview section, I'll use the 7200. I'll also use the 7200 on this as well, if I need to get slightly wider on my angles. Other than that, that is pretty much my camera setup. Now I have got a number of other cameras that I use. I like to use the little OSMO Pocket 3, which has just revolutionized the camera world from a vlogging point of view. It's such a cool little system, very, very easy to use. Quality is exceptional, and yeah, to be honest with you, any action, any of those in between shots that you need to get, in a car or on the run, these are really, really good. I love using that. And then the obligatory GoPro, which I tend to use if I'm, I need to do a water shot or something in the rain, or if it's a POV shot. But yeah, these are still very good. Not as good a quality as the DJI OSMO, but it does what it needs to do. It's an action camera, so there it is. With all the lenses that I'm using, spending so much money on filter systems for each of these is a nightmare. So I'm using the Nano system here from K&F. Basically, you have different mounts for different lenses, and then you can screw on this onto each one and just use the same filters across the whole line of lenses. And in here I've got a mixture of NDs, circular polarizers, whatever I need, but I don't need to buy individuals for all of these. I can just use the one system, so that's really good. Lighting is really important. Lighting can help a shoot immensely, especially if you're shooting in low light. Obviously with wildlife stuff, you're not going to have a lot of light anyway, as in you're not going to be able to put a light near a deer or a bird or anything like that. But if you're doing scenics or you're doing stuff with a camera where you're doing it to camera, or you're vlogging, then having little lights is really good. So I use these little panel lights. They're really good, really cheap, and I think you can pick them up for sort of 30 quid or something like that, but they do a good job, and you can buy a couple of them and they're excellent. Then you've got things like this. This is the small rig RGB light, so if you want to add a little bit of colour into your scene, whether it be purple or green or blue, whatever it is, these are really good, very bright. Last fairly long, but yeah. And then I also put a flash, a standard flash system, and that's when I'm doing my photography work, which I normally do on the Camera 2. It's a good camera, good 33 megapixel camera, so I do get some really good still photographs out of it. But yeah, good lights is imperative. Speaking of lighting, when you don't have light, one of these comes into play. Now this is a thermal scope. I got this last year and it makes a huge difference to your spotting. It really does. I mean, even if you're using your cameras, you need to know what's in those shadows. This thing here will tell you there is something there, and at this kind of cost, I think this is about 300, 400, 500 pounds, as opposed to like your thousands and thousands from the high-end brands. But these, it's ideal just to put it in your bag, and if you need to use it, it's there. Yeah, it's a brilliant, brilliant tool, this. So other tools. So I would go nowhere without one of these. They're very, very handy little tool set that if you're ever doing de-rigging or you need to break this apart, whatever you're going to do, having these tool sets are really, really important. There's no point in just bringing around tons and tons of stuff. You can buy one thing that does it all. Excellent. Media. I have lots and lots of different types of media, from your standard SD cards, some of them quick, some of them slow. But then I also have lots of these, which are SSDs. These are the caddies which go into the back of the Ninja 5. And yeah, these I kind of break into 512, 512, 512, instead of buying 2 terabyte drive and just relying on that. If one fails, it's all gone. But if I can split my media across lots of small ones, it makes a huge difference. So, batteries. Well, obviously these things use a lot of batteries. When we're out in field and it's cold, batteries just die very quickly, especially this time of year. So I've got a lot of these FZ100s, probably got about 10 of these, and you can buy the cheap versions, the newers, whatever they are. But I've always found that using Sony's is a lot better, and they'll give you a lot longer use out of a battery. It's all scales of economy. I do travel with these kind of sort of the longer batteries for lights as well, and a couple of these, the big V mounts, which they're not the cheapest of things, but they really do make a difference. 5 or 6 hours you'll get out of these, probably even longer. But yeah, I couldn't really run this whole system without these V mounts, so yeah, a must. And as in batteries, as in charging wise, I love to use this. This is the Ridgemonkey Power Volt. Now this is the beast that they have. It's an absolutely awesome bit of kit, and I won't go anywhere without one of these, or a version of one of these. There are 3 different sizes. This is the large. It does wireless charging, USB-A, USB-C, 12 volt. This will charge my laptop, my cameras, my drones, anything I've ever wanted. This is a really cool bit of kit, and they come in different sizes. As I say, there is a medium one and there's a small one, which is the only one you can actually put on a plane, because it's, you know, so you're not allowed to travel with this monster. But ideally that I put this in my van and it charges everything I need to. If I'm out in field, I use the smaller one. But yeah, these Ridgemonkey Power Volts are awesome. A lot better than these Anker ones and all those kind of Amazon specials. They last a long time. Now, I've already talked about audio. So on the top of this camera here, we've got the Rode video mic, which is great for doing the ambient sounds. But if I'm doing pieces to camera or I need to do interviews with people, I will always use the Rode Go mics. And we're currently using one now. I use the Rode Go Lavatars because they're good quality. And I have 2 different systems. I have the Rode Go 1 and then I have the Rode Go 2. So this one I can actually use with multiple people, with 2 people at the same time. And again, they're fit for purpose, they just work. And yeah, have been really, really good. And continuing with the audio, good headphones is a must. You know, audio is such a big part of all productions. And if you're recording and something isn't quite right, or the sounds, I don't know, you get an interference or something, whatever it is, if you're not monitoring it, it's a big problem. When you get it back onto the edit, it's a nightmare. So having good headphones is a must. And I always say that, you know, using wired headphones into a camera works best, especially for me. It's just, you're going to get that true sound. If you're using Bluetooth or wireless, you're going to get drops, you're going to get pops, you're going to get all these little things. But with a wired set, something like these AKGs, they're really old, but they're studio quality and they just do what they need to do. But yeah, looking after your audio is super important. Now, obviously I mentioned about the Osmo and its gimbal, but actually I do have another gimbal here which I can use with the camera too. And this is really good. It's obviously a much bigger bit of equipment, but you get to use, you know, the quality of the camera. I know that I said the Osmo is really good. It is a great little camera, but I will have to say that using a camera, you can never beat a normal camera. Oops, sorry. So protection is a really important thing as well. When you're out in the field, it's raining or it's cold or whatever it is, you've got to look after your camera. For me, I've got various different covers for my camera, all camouflage of course, but yeah, this one here is a cover for camera 2. And this one, this I had made specially made for the shape of this camera, and I had that done on Etsy. It was so good. It was so good, and really reasonably priced. I'll put a link in the description, and if you really want something that's bespoke to your system, go to these people. They're awesome. But yeah, obviously the other thing of protection is bags. This is the backlight bag that I'm using currently. It's a 26 litre day bag, and I can put lots of lenses in there, you know, single camera, all that sort of thing, and it does what it needs to do. It's really well padded, looks after your gear. I've also got the bigger version of this, the 36 litre. So this one's the backlight The 36 litre is the First Light from Mindset. These are really good bags, very solid, and they'll take care of your gear. Ooh. So let's talk tripods. So I use 3 different tripods. This is one of them. This is the Benro hi-hat. It's a very small little dwarf compact tripod, but it's big enough to hold a heavyweight camera like this. So I use this for low angles, and you know, it can get really low. It's very, very cool. Very well built as well. The second camera, or the second tripod I use, is the one that you're sitting on there. That is the Manfrotto B3 GT. Very lightweight. It's a travel tripod, but it's ideal for doing, well, what you're doing to me. And then my main tripod is this one. This is the Innorel NT364C. This is a very, I wouldn't say it's super lightweight, but it's a carbon fiber tripod, and I've mounted on top here the 504X. On here I've got the 502 Manfrotto Fluidheads. Really good Fluidheads. I can chop and change between these two, you know, whatever I want to mount on the cameras. They use the same plates. They're both very, very sturdy, and they do a great job in reducing shake. So this, binoculars. Obviously binoculars is a huge thing. This is something that I don't so much have in my bag, but have around my neck. So this, so these are the NL Pures from Swarovski, and to be honest with you, they're probably one of the best binoculars you can buy. At this size, in this range, they're quality. They really are quality bits of kit. And yeah, these really help me in locating, spotting, doing all the stuff I do, you know, in location. And yeah, I couldn't live without, you know, a good set of binoculars. Very clear in low light as well, which really does help with the wildlife stuff as well. So these are awesome. So this is something that I really do love. This is a walk stool, and it extends so that I can actually not quite stand, but it's a high stool, and it's, you know, nice and compact. Sits in the pocket of my big bags here. But yeah, this is a must if you're in the, you know, in the field for a long time. You never sit down. This thing is ideal. It's very sturdy again, lightweight. And yeah, I go everywhere with this. It's absolutely incredible. Well, what have we got here then? So this is my drone. So I am using the DJI Air 3, and I think it just does everything I need it to do. You know, it's got 2 different lenses. I think it's a 70mm and a 24mm. Great quality. Got all those special effects you can do, but actually I just want them for, you know, those nice hover shots, or the, you know, the low tree shots, whatever it is. But yeah, these are really good. I have got the smaller Mavic Minis as well, but since I've done my pilot license, yeah, I thought I'd upgrade to a better quality. And this is, yeah, it's great in wind as well, so it's very steady. And yeah, I love this. Very cool. And I think that might be it. I think that's it. I mean, obviously I don't take all of this stuff with me. I tend to pick and choose a few different lenses to go on the vlogging system. I am favouring the 20mm and the 35mm, just quality bits of glass. And then obviously this this all stays as is. It's a heavy camera, but it's amazing. It does what it needs to do. Stop that now, stop that. Yeah, it does exactly what it needs to do. And it doesn't fit in the camera bag. I have to actually mount it on my shoulder. Everything else you see there, I put, you know, 1 battery in there. I take 1 tripod. I might take those few bits and pieces and just put them in the bag. But essentially, that is what's in my kit. That kind of hot swaps around throughout the year. But yeah, that is it. That's what's in my bag for 2025. It may change, obviously, but you know, but for now, that is what's in my bag. If you've got any feedback or you want to know any more details, just leave a comment. I'll speak to you soon.